Hello, everyone. Okay, let me just get my microphone up here. I have so much to share with you tonight. How's everyone doing? I suggest you find a very comfortable position to be in tonight because I have so much information. I am pretty sure this video may go over an hour. So just so you know, I am going to share with you right now what I'm going to be addressing in today's video. Obviously, this is an update to the very big video I released literally 30 days ago on why just on my experience with the vaccine. And obviously, I knew that was going to trigger a lot of people, and it clearly did. I got to tell you, though, I actually went back today to read the comments because I'm going to address some of the comments that were on that video. And I'm going to do that at the end of this video. But I actually was pleasantly surprised that the support was overwhelmingly positive. It was, even if someone wasn't agreeing, they were supportive of my individual choice and cast no judgment on that. So that to me is a really good indicator that many of you who are watching this are already shifting into a state of consciousness that this planet so desperately needs. And I say desperately, okay? So I appreciate all of you. I appreciate every comment. I actually some of them I had missed, for obvious reasons. When I put that video out, I had to turn off all my comments because there were a lot that were coming in that were obviously very toxic. And on that note, let's do a little housekeeping before we start. So to my moderators who are in the house, and Suiterbug, please drive safely. Do not try to do anything that you need to do while you're driving. But I'm going to make a boundary for my channel. And that is that if there is anyone in the live chat who doesn't know how to express themselves in a healthy manner, if you're going to bring your toxic energy and disagree by slandering me or calling me names, and just being, oh shoot. Oh, hold on a second. Okay. For a second it said the stream disconnected. Shoot. Okay. It's still saying it's recording 3 minutes in, but now it's saying the live is only 15 seconds in. Did I just get completely disconnected? Can you guys tell me? Just let me know in the live chat, 'cause I know there's about a 30-second delay here. Okay, 5x5. Thank you very much. Okay, so back to where I was. So funny that happened while I was saying this. It's basically like this principle. You can't come into my home and treat me like shit. I don't want that energy in my home. Even if you're just going to bring toxic energy into the live chat, I'm just not going to stand for it. It's at this point, when I look at some of the comments, and this doesn't just go for my video, this is like what I'm seeing online in general. The way people are behaving and handling themselves in the comment sections is so indicative of how much healing we still have to go as a collective. There is nothing wrong with you disagreeing with what I have said. I fully support healthy discourse, but as soon as the conversation starts to get toxic, I just won't stand for it. Not in my house. Not doing it. Okay? So mods, you know what to do. All right? Now that we have that out of the way, I'm going to just give you guys a really quick rundown of what I'm going to go through today. One, I'm going to address fear because it is the main issue and the main problem that is plaguing our consciousness right now. Two, I'm going to get into some information. I'm going to share with you what some much rather bigger YouTube channels have shared with me about my message. But I'm not going to be naming who they are because they are not ready to come out with this message. But I'm going to share with you something about that I think is going to be very interesting. And I also am going to address mob mentality. I'm going to talk about Wim Hof. I'm going to talk about Dr. Bruce Lipton, and I'm going to talk about Dr. Robert Malone, who was just recently on Joe Rogan's podcast and discussed the spike protein. And you're going to know why, because I am going to share with you some information that has come through in my healing session that I had set up to help me clear any residual stuff that may have been left behind from my own energetic work. If there was anything I missed, I just was like, why not take a look at that? And so I had a very close friend and incredible healer who I trust very much take a look at my field, and I'm going to share with you guys the results of that. And it's really quite fascinating. And if there is anything, it only confirmed and further expanded upon my original message. I also want you guys to know that I have decided, at the request of many of you, to hold a live webinar event on January 15th. The link is in the description below. It is going to be a live webinar. Tickets are $11, and I'm going to teach you exactly how to raise your frequency so that you hold energetic sovereignty. There are so many of you that are finding yourself in a position where the option of not taking it is so drastically not viable for you that you are finding yourself in a position where you have to potentially take the vaccine. And I want to help you learn how to raise your frequency. And if you ever find yourself in a position where this may be something that you need to do for your own choice, it's your own path, then I'm hoping that this webinar will at least help you gain a deeper understanding, as well as learning how to work with your energy to raise your frequency and how I did it. I'm not saying that the webinar is like a cure-all or anything like that, but I'm just going to share with you what I did. It's not just for the vaccine, though. It is for all principles of how we work with energy, how we work with our consciousness in what we choose, and how to manifest everything that you want and to realize why you may be manifesting the things you don't want. So I'm going to be doing that January 15th. It's a Saturday. I chose a Saturday so that those of you in later time zones could join, and it will be at 2 p.m. Eastern. Okay, and I'm going to get into a little bit more of that later on. And then, of course, at the very end, I am going to address some of the comments on the video. And I'm going to stand up for myself, because this is my channel and this is where I shall stand up for myself. And I will also explain some of the things that I hope will help clarify some of the misunderstanding, and as well as just some of the questions that some of you had. All right, so first, let's talk about fear, because fear is the number one thing that is hijacking everyone's consciousness right now. It is the most pervasive weapon of choice. It has been a weapon of choice against humanity since the beginning of time. Okay, because we're such highly emotional beings. We are easily manipulated through our emotional field, and fear is one of the most powerful ways to manipulate someone, okay, into basically giving up their power. The virus, so many people say, well, the biggest virus that we're dealing with is fear, but the true sickness is division. The true sickness of our humanity is division. And I am finding that at this point in my journey and at this point with my channel, you are probably going to find me talking about this topic at length. I'm not going to let go of this topic. It'll be probably something I talk about throughout the entire year, because there is nothing that we can accomplish if we're not doing it together. Okay, if we're all fighting each other or needing someone to see our side of the story, or for us to be right at the expense of being so hyperpolarized, We are never going to find the common ground. And the common ground is so desperately needed at this time in order for us to move through and find the solutions that we need to so that we can get back to a state of being that is much more harmonious. Okay, I'm not saying we're going back to normal because I just don't think we want to go back to that normal. But I think there are certain aspects of that normal that we do want. Fear is the most powerful weapon, and it has been in the past. It controls our past, it controls our present moment, and it controls our future. So we really have to understand that. Now, one of the things that I don't think a lot of people understood from that video was, and I think this is just because a lot of people were so triggered, and this happens all the time. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. When you're getting triggered, you're only going to hear what you want to hear, that or whatever is really triggering you, right? And you're going to hyper focus on that, and you're going to miss everything else. And this happens all the time in relationships and all of that. And I saw it happen with my video. And one of the things that I think people really missed the boat on was how empowering that message was. Now, not everyone, because I want to say so many of you got it. And thank God, because I got to tell you, for all of you who got it, you give me so much freaking hope for humanity, and knowing that there are people who are helping to drive our consciousness into a state of unity and energetic empowerment and sovereignty. Energetic sovereignty and empowerment doesn't happen because someone decides to do something that you believe is right. Energetic sovereignty is doing something that you believe is the best decision for you in your own individual journey. And like I said, one of the things that kind of happened was a lot of people thought that, I gave in, I succumbed, and all of this kind of stuff. And I'll get into it more when I address the comments. But this is based off of the projected belief that this thing, this jab, has more power over you than you have over it. There has been so much negative alternative media out there that has poisoned people's minds with these toxic beliefs that this thing, there's no cure for it. That if you were to have it in your body, you're done. You will never be the same. You become the cyborg. Like, it's crazy, the toxic stuff that is being promoted out there. And people are soaking it up. Literally, like the opposite side of the spectrum, where those in mainstream media who just sit on their couch and watch the news and are spoon-fed every information and don't even question it. The same thing is happening in alternative media. The exact same thing is happening in alternative media. Now, to a much more polarized, I'm not saying that all alternative media is like that, but there is a very toxic element of it. And the way I see it is, if it is something has the power to alter you, then you absolutely have the power to alter it. It doesn't work one way. If you believe it only works one way, you have no grasp on how energy works and the laws of this universe. And you really need to go back to the foundations of your spiritual journey. And I know that's going to sound harsh, but I am not here to tell you what you want to hear. I am here to tell you what needs to be heard, at least from my perspective. Remember that if something has the power to alter you, then you hold the power to alter it. It is how polarity works in this reality. You cannot have a reality of duality where only one option exists. There always has to be the counter option. Always. So, one of the things I want to talk about here is why were so many people so triggered? Why was there such a triggering? And I'm going to be very honest. I fully expected it. And I have so much compassion for all of you who were triggered. I really do, because I get it. I was triggered by my family getting it. I was triggered by some of my friends getting it, and so I understand. For me to sit here and say it was absolutely ridiculous that anyone got triggered from that would be absolutely hypocritical of me. I totally understand it. It's part of the journey. Here's what's so beautiful is that there's so many wounds that we hold still that are still requiring healing. And when we're getting triggered, all that's doing is letting us know, ooh, there's something that is controlling me subconsciously through a wound. And so that's all that really kind of happened there. But, what was really interesting to me was when I talked to some people, I want to just say straight up, to those of you who have YouTube channels and reached out to me immediately to give me your support and to just tell me that, you understand the message and you believe it. I want to say thank you. And even if for those of you, sorry, I thought I just muted my phone. For those of you who just supported me, but maybe don't agree with it, I still thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for, holding your beliefs as individual to you and still honoring me as a person. One of the things that I discovered through having a lot of these conversations, and, some of these, my friends have really big YouTube accounts, okay? Much bigger than my channel. They all said pretty much the same thing. And was that, Nicole, your message is absolutely the same as what I've been getting, that we can change the consciousness of the vaccine. We can alter it so that it is not toxic to our body, that we can clear our energetic field of it through vibrational and frequency work. But I won't talk about it on my channel because I will get blasted in the comments. And a lot of people aren't ready to deal with that. And I fully understand. I really do. Because I got to tell you, the reason why I turned my comments off, and I haven't turned them on, I haven't turned push notifications on, is because energetically, it was a lot to take on. I mean, I had just had the vaccine only a week prior. And I already knew I was still trying to transmute stuff and still trying to keep my vibration high. And I was like, oh man, I had no idea that the backlash was going to be this crazy. I was in tears that night. I was, shocked because there were some people that left comments that were so toxic that were actually my friends. And I was like, what happened here? People who have reached out to me in their time of need, okay, have asked me to bring them on my channel to give them a platform when they were in need of help, to help share what was going on with them, and completely turned on me in an instant. It's one thing if you disagree, but to say the really toxic things that people were saying, I was like, holy crap, wow. And I'll be really honest, there was a part of me, that little child inside of me that was like, no one has my back. See, no one has my back. And I had to stop that thinking right in its tracks because so many of you had my back. So many friends stepped up and reached out to me. So many of you left beautiful comments on that video. And I want to tell you, you have no idea how helpful that was to me in moving through the energy that I had to move through that week. So you have these bigger YouTube accounts who are in agreement with the message that I put out, but are not ready to state it because they're saying the smallest thing and already getting mob mentality backlash. The smallest thing. And that kind of would counter, let's say, the such toxic negative viewpoint of just the vaccine in general. And I got to reiterate this, guys. Not once did I endorse taking the vaccine in that video. So many of you were triggered. Well, probably not so many of you watching this because I don't think they're here anymore. But so many people got triggered and they somehow thought I was promoting getting it, and I'm not. I never will promote that. It was just the choice I had to make for myself in order to support my mission and all of the really important things that are on my journey to make sure they happen. And that was not an easy decision to make. So I don't want to get too much into that because I really want to save that for the comments. But here's the thing. When we look at the other side of the aisle, because there seems to be, obviously there's kind of two sides, and where you fall, maybe it's more in the middle, maybe it's a little bit to one side, maybe it's a little bit to the other, maybe it's really polarized. All right? Doesn't really matter. What we know is that on one side, what we didn't like was the mob mentality, that cancel culture, that, as soon as you say something so drastically like inconceivable to someone, it's like everything turns on you. And that mob mentality is toxic. And I'm seeing that the very people who hated it on the left, okay, have become the very thing they hated through that mob mentality in the comment sections of things, okay? Whether it's my video, someone else's video, Telegram posts, whatever they might be. And that mob mentality is scaring people into speaking their truth. Now, I had no idea how brave it actually was for me to share the information I was sharing. It only hit me in hindsight. I was like, holy shit. Had I known that that would have been the reaction, I don't know if I would have gone through with it. I can't say that I know for sure I would have still done it. I'm being very honest. I don't know. It was scary. And we have to be really mindful of how we're communicating and expressing ourselves, because you don't want to be contributing to the reason why someone may be holding back information out of fear of, taking on that kind of energy. It may affect their business. It certainly affected some of mine. I mean, not that much, to be quite honest, but it could, and some people, this is their complete livelihood. So, it's a bit crazy. So we have to really check in with ourselves. Like, just all I'm going to ask of you guys is, and to be honest, I really don't think there's anyone here who's watching this video at this point who does do like toxic comments and things like that. I think the last video kind of culled some of that from my channel. But if you find yourself getting really triggered or wanting to leave like a really nasty comment, ask yourself if there's a better way that you can communicate it. Okay, instead of going on the attack, just communicate what you need to communicate from a really healthy position. It doesn't mean you'll always get it right. It doesn't mean it'll be made perfect. It's okay. But we have to learn how to behave and communicate in a healthier way in order for us to heal properly. So it almost acts as a form of censorship in a way, to be quite honest. And just know that there are other channels out there that are not willing to come forward on this because of the backlash they know they're going to get. And just from my video alone, I think it's just an attestament to that. So, all right, let's get into the whole thing that I did, the energy work, and let's just kind of deepen that a little bit. Okay. When I talked about the vaccine having a consciousness, okay, what's really interesting is that in my experience that I had when I was sitting in my car in the parking lot, I was already communicating with the consciousness of the vaccine, okay, and particularly the spike protein that is in there. Now, the reason why I did that without even actually knowing, I think this was something that is an inherent memory within my own being from past lives of how to work with, because I know in one of my past lives, in a Mayan lifetime, I was a plant medicine woman. And so when we talk about plant medicine, if any of you have taken mushrooms or done ayahuasca or any kind of plant medicine, okay, one of the things that is taught to you, or it should be taught to you if it isn't, before you do any journey or consume that medicine, you are to communicate with the consciousness of that plant medicine before you consume it, to ensure that you have a much better trip as opposed to a bad trip, right? You want it to work with you, not against you. And of course, if you're not in energetic sovereignty, if you do go in with it with fear, okay, you probably will manifest something that is in resonance with that feeling and that fear. So what I was doing was communicating with the consciousness of this vaccine to ensure that it understood that when it worked, when it was entering my field, it would work with me, not against me, or it would be neutralized and eliminated. And the intention there was it had to find its highest expression to work with me, or it was going to get neutralized and eliminated. And that was my intention. So I want to just talk about a couple things here that support what I'm talking about, because clearly I can't prove this to anyone. I can't prove it. You guys are simply going to have to just listen to what I'm saying and tune into your own internal guidance, your own intuition, to see if this resonates based off of a feeling, as well as whatever other information you have accumulated along your own journey. Okay. And I'm going to share some of this with you. So for instance, Wim Hof, okay, he was part of a study, an experiment, so to speak, where they injected a bacterial substance into his bloodstream. And they had other people that got the same injection, right? And I've actually linked the study in the description below this video, so you guys can go read it. But basically what happened was that he believed, and he probably still does, that through his own mental focus and concentration and breath work, okay, meditation, mind meditation, that he could control how his body responded to this bacterial injection. And what happened is that instead of creating an immune response where, like you would be fighting off something bacterial, his body went into a much higher state. Let's just call it a higher frequency or higher state of consciousness that was able to be so powerful that the bacteria caused no symptoms, no stress on his body whatsoever, and was probably eliminated at some point shortly thereafter. All right. So we have Wim Hof, who's already done this over a decade ago. I believe this was like in 2009, maybe. I don't know, 2009, 2011, something like that. So also, I am a huge fan of Bruce Lipton. I have been studying his work for years. This is a book that I have called The Biology of Belief, okay, by Bruce H. Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton. And I'm going to read just a couple paragraphs here to you guys, because in this study, he understands that the mind is so powerful over the body that that's why he calls it the biology of belief. Your belief can control your biology. Okay. It is so important to understand how powerful you are and how the central nervous system is designed to react. Like, what is its default switch? Okay. So how the mind controls the body. He first talks about let me just see here. Okay, no, we're not going to get into that. That's the next thing I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to read this here so that you guys understand, because the reason why the reason why I'm going to read this to you is because we all know that the spike protein of the vaccine, okay, what it tries to do is it tries to attach itself to protein receptors in our body. And when it starts attaching itself, then it starts replicating and replicating and replicating. And we all know that. Okay. So what he did was he had research here. So what he did was, he says here, when I created a toxic environment, the cultured cells would retreat from the stimulus in an effort to wall themselves off from the noxious agents. My research focused on the membrane perception switches that controlled the shift from one behavior of a cell to another. The primary switch I was studying has a protein receptor that responds to histamine, a molecule that the body uses in a way that is equivalent to local emergency alarm. So we found that there were two switches, H1 and H2, and they both responded to the same histamine signal. So when activated, the H1 histamine receptors evoked a protection response, the type of behavior revealed by cells in toxic containing culture dishes. Switches containing the H2 histamine receptors evoke a growth response to histamine, similar to the behavior of cells cultured in the presence of nutrients. Okay, so then he subsequently learned that the body's system-wide emergency response signal, which is adrenaline, also has switches sporting two different adrenaline sensing receptors called alpha and beta. The adrenaline receptors provoked the exact same cell behaviors as those elicited by histamine. So when the adrenal alpha receptor is part of the IMP switch, it provokes a protection response. The beta receptor promotes it activates a growth response. Okay, so very similar. Now, what he found was so interesting is that when he simultaneously introduced histamine and adrenaline into the tissue cultures, he found that the adrenaline signals released by the central nervous system override the influence of histamine signals that are produced locally. So it's almost like the body's adrenaline system, right? The central nervous system was able to override that. So what this is that basically you have imagine, and he goes on to say this, but I don't want to read the whole thing. Imagine you're at work. Your manager comes in and tells you and gives you a certain order to do. The CEO walks in and gives you a completely different order. Who are you going to listen to? Well, you're going to probably listen to the CEO, right? Well, the central nervous system is the CEO, okay, of our body. So being in a very strong meditative state, okay, and your beliefs from your mind coupled with that high frequency has the ability to adjust how your body responds to anything in it. All right, now let me go forward, and then I want to talk to you guys about the nocebo effect, because we know there's a placebo effect, but we also know there is a nocebo effect. And the nocebo effect is the power of negative beliefs, okay? And this is why it's so disheartening for me to see how toxic the alternative media has become in some ways, like it's like fear sells. Let's face it, fear sells. And I feel like I need to do a video on this because it's going to keep selling until we stop buying it. So here's what it is. In medicine, the nocebo effect can be as powerful as the placebo effect, a fact you should keep in mind every time you step into a doctor's office. By their words and their demeanor, physicians can convey hope or deflating messages to their patients, messages that are, I believe, completely unwarranted. Albert Mason, for example, thinks his inability to project optimism to his patients hampered his efforts with his, I don't know how to pronounce this, ichthyosis patients? I'm not sure. And another example is the potential power of the statements, you have 6 months to live. And we all know this, right? So we all know that when a doctor says, when any kind of person of authority that we view as an authority, right, says something, we're more likely to take on that belief and not even realize it. So He has cited the Discovery Health Channel's 2003 program, Placebo Mind Over Medicine, in this chapter because it is a good compendium of some of medicine's most interesting cases. One of its more poignant segments featured a Nashville physician, Clifton Meador, who has been reflecting on his potential power of the Nocebo Effect for 30 years. In 1974, Meador had a patient, Sam Lundy, a retired shoe salesman suffering from cancer of the esophagus, a condition that was at the time considered 100% fatal. Lundy was treated for that cancer, but everyone in the medical community knew that his esophageal cancer would recur. So it was no surprise when Lundy died a few weeks after his diagnosis. The surprise came after Lundy's death when an autopsy found very little cancer in his body, certainly not enough to kill him. There were a couple of spots in the liver, one in the lung, but there was no trace of the esophageal cancer that everyone thought had killed him. Meador told the Discovery Health Channel he died with cancer, but not from cancer. How interesting is that? Have we not been hearing some of that in our news right now? Okay, have we not been seeing how, especially with the whole COVID thing, not dying from it, but with it, and just how it's being manipulated? The point of all of that is that for those who want to continue to believe and fear the vaccine as intensely as they are, you have no idea how much damage this is doing to your own belief system, which in turn affects your body's biology. Now, back in March of last year, I had to make a very conscious choice for myself because I already saw this happening and I was already feeling a tearing up within me. I could feel myself being, well, something is just not feeling right about this. I'm just not liking where this is all going. And it was basically the fear porn around the vaccine. Now, again, I don't think that the vaccine is good. I don't endorse getting it. Okay? But just because I don't believe something is good for me, and I'm just going to say for me, because there are other people out there that believe it is the right thing and it is good for them, and I am not someone to tell them otherwise, okay? But for me, I can believe that something isn't good for me, but that doesn't mean I have to fear it. This is why I talked about fear as being the very, big weapon here that is being used against all of us consciously. And I also could see how divisive the amount of division it starts to fracture within you when you start to get so polarized into hating something or being scared of something or being so adamant that it's the wrong thing. You can believe that something isn't right, but you don't have to go to the hyper extreme of belief about it to hold that, So I hope that people start to understand how toxic fear can be in our own energy field and how it's being used to do, I think, irreparable damage to us as a society in creating so much division. I listened to Joe Rogan's recent podcast with Dr. Robert Malone, which is incredible. Episode 1757. I highly suggest you listen to it if you haven't. It's one of the best 3 hours of information I've ever listened to from someone who is an expert in the field, of virology and vaccines, because he holds the patents for the mRNA technology. To come out and give such rational information that is obviously, when we look at the data, we can see that this thing that people are taking, and I took, it's not good for you. There are serious health issues that are coming up, and I was never in denial of that when I took it. I knew full well what I was getting myself involved in when I took it. None of that changed. What changed was that I knew that my circumstances, that I had to make a choice, and the choice of not taking it was so drastically depressing to me in that it would alter my entire mission. It would derail my mission significantly. The work that I came here as a soul to do, that I couldn't allow it. I couldn't allow it. And I knew that this was the choice I had to make for myself. And so I had a few months to process this, because it was about in early September, as I said, that I started to realize I have a feeling this is going to be part of my reality. And I had to really get strong in my mind about getting into the belief of nothing is more powerful than me. Nothing outside of me is more powerful than me. And again, if something has the ability to alter me, I have the ability to alter it. So who was going to win? I'll be damned if it wasn't me. Okay? I'll be damned if it wasn't me. All right. So back in March, as I was saying, I could see how much fear porn was coming up around this vaccine. I made the decision to not watch any videos. I had so many people sending me videos. Did you see this? Did you see that? This is in it. That's in it. Like, like all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not healthy. This is not healthy. All you need to know is it's not good for you, and leave it at that. Why do we have to incessantly bombard ourselves with information that, either hyper confirms or maybe overly confirms, what we already know? And so I was like, I already know it's not good. Like, I don't need to program myself with other people's beliefs on how bad it is. I just don't need that in my field, because if there ever were to come a point in my journey where I may find myself having to take it, I didn't want to have to reprogram myself from all of that programming, because it gets into your field. Like, especially when you're watching something, you go into a trance-like state where you're absorbing things and it's going deep into your subconscious. And so I had to make a very conscious decision back in the springtime that I just wasn't going to allow that in. And I could already see, some of the videos being shared, how toxic this was going to create for people's minds, in a sense of promoting more and more division through either you get it or you don't get it. If you get it, you didn't hold the line, shame on you. We lost a number. You don't know what you're succumbing to. You succumb to tyranny. And it's just like the judgment, like no one knows what it's like to walk in anyone's shoes. Okay. There's so much I want to say, guys. There's so much I want to say. And I don't want to veer off too far from all of this. Okay, so let me go back to Dr. Robert Malone. One of the things he talked about that he was able to say was that the one common variable among all of the vaccines, okay, not just the Moderna or not just the J&J or not just the Pfizer, like all of them, the one common variable was the spike protein was in all of them, right? And so he deduced that it was most likely that it was the spike protein that is causing a lot of the harm, okay, in a lot of people who are experiencing injuries from taking that. So what I want to do on that note is I'm going to now share with you a transcription of a conversation with the consciousness of the spike protein that I had. And I know this is going to sound crazy. I know some people will be like, what the hell is she talking about? But I know, and I just got to find it here because I had to reboot my whole computer because it was so slow and I lost here we go. Okay, let me just do this so I can make sure that everything is still good here. Okay. All right, guys, so I'm going to share this with you. There is no way for you to know how. I can't prove this, okay? I can't prove it. I'm not saying accept it. Like, don't just let me say it and you spoon feed it into your consciousness. Like, really sit with what I'm saying, and don't be afraid to challenge it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm just going to share this with you, and whatever you do with it is like for you to do with it. Okay. So, okay. So in my clearing session that I had with my friend who has been working on several clients, people who have had to get it, and want to eliminate it from their system, their energy field. So this person has been working to clear that and is very familiar with what shows up in the energy field when someone has had the jab. Okay. So when this person was looking at my field, they couldn't believe it. And this was 12 days after I had gotten the shot. There was only one spike. This person sees them as spikes. And we confirmed that it was the spike protein. I confirmed with them, like, are you talking about the spike protein? They said, yeah. That usually this person sees many in someone's field when they have to go and clear the vaccine. But in my field, all that they were able to see was one spike. And this spike was sitting next to my spine on my back. Interestingly enough, it was sitting between my heart chakra and my throat chakra. So it was sitting at my high heart. And this was important. Okay, this was important for the actual spike protein. So my friend just really couldn't understand how I only had one. And in fact, they kept searching and looking to see if anything was hiding, like if they were missing something, and just kept looking, and really there was only one. And the energy of this spike that we saw, okay, was a lot higher than the regular spikes that this person saw in most people. And this particular spike protein was able to raise its energy, okay? And it was literally smiling at my friend. Like it was a happy spike. And it's totally took this person by surprise, didn't know what to do with it, never seen it before, literally said, I have never seen a happy spike, so I don't know what this means. Basically, it seemed a lot more intelligent and it was a lot more sentient, so it was able to understand us and we were able to connect with it and get more information. And basically the spike said, they are mutating, the spikes are mutating, and they are changing already. They are not always in the same way. They already have become smarter, and the beings, people who created them, didn't realize what they were doing. They don't have a clue how they actually work. And they are already adjusting, adapting, and evolving, and that this is something important. So we understood that this spike had its own mind, and it told us that it was connected to the other spikes via like an interweb of sorts of intelligence, communication, much the way, we all can communicate telepathically with one another if we were really to tune in, or, the way our internet works is exactly like they kind of operate on a energetic communication web where they can communicate with each other. And that this is one of the few spikes that had higher vibration, because most of the others cannot support themselves in a higher vibration environment. High vibration is not where we enjoy to be, but because we are evolving, we are moving higher, and some of us are already understanding more how to be in higher vibration frequencies and how to adjust there. Okay, so this particular one was able to adjust its frequency to stay in my field. So what happened was all of the other spikes weren't able to survive my frequency. My frequency was so high that none of them could survive, period. Only this one. So being close to my higher heart is important for this spike because it wants to understand more. It wants to feel more of the energy of the heart. And it seemed, from what we could deduce, more interested in learning from me than doing damage to me. And it said, I want to understand more, Nicole. All right. Now, so, and this is all very freaking interesting. Like, this was blowing both of our minds. Like, I'm just like, whoa, I was not expecting this, like, it was basically confirming everything that I got in my download in the car before I went in to get it. And so the thing is, like I said to you guys earlier in the video, and when I said in that video, my intention when I was working with my own energy field and preparing myself before I went into the building and preparing the consciousness of the vaccine, okay, before it entered my field was I said that the vaccine is either going to be neutralized and eliminated from my body, or it will find its higher expression and it will work with me. What happened? One of them decided to find its higher expression and work with me. Totally mind blown when all of this is coming through. Like I was mind blown. And so I'm like, okay. I'm like, my word is really important to me. My integrity is really important to me. And I'm like, this was my intention. This is what it did. So I'm like, what do we do now? So we told the spike that basically it needed to be in its own energy bubble so that it would not affect me and so that it could communicate through this bubble of energy. All right. We made a deal with it. And I know this sounds so outrageous. I am very aware of how outrageous this can sound, but to anyone who understands consciousness and knows how to communicate on that energetic level, you get this. I know you do. So this was the deal that I made with the spike. I said that if it stayed, and only if it stayed in its own like energy bubble, its own little universe of energy, and never held the intent to harm me or my body in any way, shape, or form, it was allowed to stay. We decided to let it stay in my body so that it could learn. And that this would also allow the spike to survive and be able to learn and understand more. So, okay, it's totally like, even when I talk about this, I'm like kind of mind blown. Okay. So I'm going to be very upfront with you guys. I think you guys all know that I am as honest and truthful as I possibly can, even at the expense of like what happened on the other video. Working with this spike, we weren't really sure. Like I don't want to say we knew we couldn't trust it. I don't think it's not so much of a level of trust because I don't really know what the intentions are. I think anything that operates at a level of fear and its original intention was probably not for good. Likely, and obviously it doesn't understand the heart. So I'm like, I have to be very cautious with this. And I kind of sat with it. I'm like, you know what? Everything inside of me is saying it's okay to stay for now, but it's going to be temporary, maybe just a couple months, and then I'm going to remove it. So that's where we kind of left that. So what I've done since then is I've been sending it information. I have been communicating with it to have more awareness and compassion, because those are the things that it didn't understand. It said that it doesn't understand the emotions of compassion or joy or love. It only understands the fear. It only understands fear. That's what it's known to operate on. And it was very interested in learning more. So because the spikes, they just don't understand those emotions. And when it told us it communicates on this web with other, like through its own consciousness, it's all It's like with us, our own humanity, our own consciousness level. So they have their own consciousness level. So when one starts to raise its consciousness, it helps to raise the consciousness of others through their communication. So I'm like, okay, I understand how this works. In theory, I've always understood how this works. I just never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be working with a freaking spike protein. Okay. Like never, ever. It's still kind of weird, even when I say it. So this was really new territory for my healer. And usually what they do is they send the spikes back to where they came from. They dissolve them, send them back. And it's the first time that they ever encountered a spike with a higher vibration. And so the fact that it was the only one, again, it just meant that that was the only one that was able to survive. And, you know, my friend, truly, I didn't really need this person to say this to me because I already knew it. But what they do with every person that they're helping to clear the field is they always check in with their connection to source energy. And they said, it's incredible. Your connection is so strong. Nothing was altered there. Like, it's just, nothing was diminished. Like, it's super strong. Your connection is super, super strong. And this person doesn't usually see that, where there seems to be like a disconnection or at least a reduction in connection. Probably because of the fear, like the fear that a lot of people hold when they get it. So our overall assessment was that this spike isn't going to be putting me in danger. My friend looked into the future and just didn't see any issues or problems for me. And so what I want to say, what this is really like, and this is funny, okay? I was literally talking to the consciousness of the spike a few nights ago, and it hit me that I'm literally operating like an exchange program right now, where so when I was 16, I did an exchange program in Switzerland. I went to Switzerland for 3 months. I was in the French speaking part. And of course, I always wanted to do it because I wanted to learn more about another culture. I wanted to learn more about how they lived and all that kind of stuff. And literally, I feel like I am hosting an exchange program type thing here with this spike protein to understand our way of being, our consciousness, how we communicate, how we live, how we live from the heart. Okay. And it's learning our culture in so many ways. So bizarre, right? I get it. It's like, and I'm like almost an hour in. See, I told you guys, this is going to be a long video. All right. The next thing I want to read to you guys is, because I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple nights after that video, I did my all signs. And before I did the all signs, I pulled a card for myself. I felt very pulled to a specific card. And when I went to go read, I was like, oh, I picked this card. Okay, let me just go look at the meaning of it. And remember I told you guys, I'm like, you can't make this shit up. Like, what are the chances 2 days after that video that this is the card out of like so many that I would choose? Now, this is the card that I chose, which is the Mystic. Okay. I'm going to read this shit to you. Okay. Because the Seeker, the Light Worker, the Dreamer. The mystic is often misunderstood in our culture, depicted as a wandering or lighthearted daydreamer. Yet, like Shiva, the true mystic plays a critical role in society, remaining fearlessly dedicated to the path of transformation. In order to save the earth from darkness, Shiva swallows the poison of the world and holds it in his throat, slowly transmuting the liquid into nectar. This is the work of the mystic. They do not fear darkness, but rather sit in the presence of it, harness the potential and latent energy behind it, and embed it with light. They are patient and prudent change makers, seeking growth above all else. Unanswerable questions are the mystic's lifeblood, The mystic revels in mystery, in the great riddle of life, dancing with the forces of light and dark upon its wings. I was like, and I've obviously pulled this card before, but I never read it or understood it in that way. Like, it was so profound when it hit me. And, this is just the power that we hold when we're talking about transmutation. And we're talking about, just in general, transmuting the darkness into light. That is the work of the mystic. Okay, knowing how to work with the energy to take the darkness and, through the alchemy of its own energy field, transmute it into the nectar, the lifeblood of this universe. So some of us are called to do things that others can't understand. Heck, I didn't even understand it when I was feeling this call, to do it. I didn't fully understand what I was doing or why I was doing it. It's been becoming more and more clear to me as this journey has unfolded, like even since I did the video. So much more clarity has come in. Where do I go from here? Because the next thing I want to talk about is the event, and then I'm going to address the comments, which is going to be really fun. In order to be able to work with the light and the dark at the same time, you have to hold neutrality. You have to hold neutrality. You need to know that both are necessary and both are valid in this existence. You cannot denounce one over the other. You must embrace both. To truly hold your power within the light and the dark, you have to hold neutrality. And I actually see 2022, as I said in my predictions video, I am already seeing many of you working with neutrality to raise the consciousness of the division that we are all facing. Because that is the true sickness of humanity at this point in time. Division is the truest sickness we are all facing. And we have got to find a way to find common ground. And this is what I loved about Dr. Robert Malone, because at the very end of that 3-hour podcast, he talks about this. And he says that. And I wholeheartedly agree with him. We have got to find common ground. We have got to put our differences aside, know that they will always likely be different, okay? Or to some degree, there will be difference, and find the common ground that unites us. We have to do that. Now, how do we do that? We go within ourselves and we find out what is fractioning, what is fractalizing us so deeply. What is causing this fracture within ourselves of division, causing us to hold extreme polarities within ourselves, this need to be right, to need others to see your perspective, my perspective. No, don't live your life that way. It's the wrong way. Live my way. I figured it out. Bullshit. None of us have figured it out. We're all figuring it out together. And whatever you discover for your own journey is valid for your journey. And we have to find a way to hold space and honor that, or we're not getting out of this mess. We're going to stay in this timeline and we're going to freaking stew in it. And I don't want to stew in it. It's like, when they cook frogs, they boil them slowly. Yeah, the temperature's getting a little too hot for me. Okay, so for those of you who are interested, I will hold this event webinar on January 15th to help you learn or deepen how you work with energy and your own frequency to raise it for whatever reasons you want to use it for. There are limitless reasons as to why you would want to do this. Okay. Perhaps you will find yourself in a situation similar to mine, where the alternative of not taking it is absolutely 100 times worse than taking it. And that, or maybe you'll just feel like this is regardless, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter how extreme. Like, you make your decision based off of what needs to do, and for me, what people didn't understand is that when you're fighting a war, okay, sometimes you have to lose a battle to win a war. And I knew that this was likely a battle I was technically having to lose. And I don't even think I lost it, to be honest. But I know that a lot of people would perceive it that way, in order to win the war. For me to stay on the ground, doing my mission and getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Otherwise, I really would have been derailed, and I would have, honestly, I think I would have gone into a depression so deep, I don't know if I would have come out of it. So it was just not possible for me. And that's all I'm going to leave it at. One of the things that, just before I get into the comments, is because this is something that I don't think a lot of people understood from that video, is people think that the only way to win this war is to hold the line, to not submit. And like I said in that video, at least I think I did. If I didn't, I'm going to say it now. It is absolutely a necessary part of this journey. For those who are able to hold the line and do all of that, I applaud you. I commend you. If that's where you're feeling called and that's where you're feeling strongest, go and keep at it. Keep doing it. I support you. But there are other ways to win this war, because it really is a war on consciousness in many ways, right? So in order to win a war on consciousness, you have to work at the conscious level. And that's what I was doing with the vaccine. So altering it, like I said, from what I understood, and I've talked to several other people and they've gotten the same downloads. They're just not prepared to come out on their channels and say it. So just know that there is a lot of fear keeping people from sharing this information. And again, I don't judge them at all. I saw what I went through and I understand. And I'm like, you just do what you need to do for you. And if it ever comes to a time where you're ready to share, you will. But this kind of works in a way of ancestral healing. It's very similar to ancestral healing. So once we start raising the consciousness of it, for those of us who are finding ourselves on the journey of having to take it, perhaps some of us are there and needed to help transmute it and do that. Now, if someone had told me this was going to be part of my journey a year ago, I would have said, F you, I'm not doing it. No way, I'm not doing it. It took something so precious to me of being taken away that was my very reason for being here, that I just was like, okay, that can't happen. So I got to find another way around this. And my way was to transmute it, which I have. There were no spike proteins except for one that held a much higher frequency in my entire body. I had no symptoms from taking it. Not once did I have any symptoms. My friend who got the same one, which was, I got the J&J. I didn't want the mRNA. I figured I'd just go with that. I mean, I don't think any of them are good. I think they're all crap. But I was like, let me just pick my poison, literally. So, but I did it because it was a one-time deal. And I was like, I just want to deal with this one time. And so, I'm in a position where I needed to buy myself some more time. My situation is time sensitive, and I needed more time. So, I'm hoping that, and I'm seeing, what I'm seeing is that I'm seeing this eventually dissolving. This whole thing is eventually dissolving, but I don't know how soon. Possibly within the next year. Okay. But that will only be in pockets, is what I'm intuitively getting. I don't know. It's hard to predict anything these days. Everything is in fluctuation. The amount of energy that is hitting this planet is causing so much chaos that, and that's why it's so important to, not get pulled into fear porn, to not allow your mind to be pummeled with toxic beliefs of other people of something that is bad for you. Listen, I knew it was not a good thing. Like I knew that. I didn't need any more proof. I didn't need someone to hammer it home every day, 3 hours a day, watching videos, reading articles. I'm like, enough. I need to focus on my own life. I want to focus on my own creations. So what I think is that what I saw, and I think this was a very unconscious thing. I don't think people purposely were doing this, but there was an unconscious selfishness amongst people who are like, you have to hold the line. How dare any of you get it? You're just putting us all more at risk, basically, right? And that my video was like contributing to that. Whereas there are people who live in countries that don't have the same rights that those who live in America do. And they're up against a lot harder stuff. Some people are choosing between being able to put food on their table for their family and keep a roof over their heads, and they're having to make hard choices. A lot of people don't want to have to do it, but they don't know what other options they have. They're in survival mode. And so they're making the decisions in order to be able to find more time or more ways to figure this all out. So my message was to help those who were in those situations. And it is very selfish to not want those people to have that ability to help themselves, to empower themselves energetically. I want those people to still be around. I want them to still be here to help us. We need all of us here, healthy, energetically strong. We need to be working together, and we need to know that there are several ways to fight this battle, to fight this war, if that's what we want to call it. I'm just calling it for lack of a better word right now. We have to be willing to know that there are infinite ways to have solutions here. There are infinite solutions to any problem. To only think that there's one, the only reason why someone does that is because they're unwilling to see the cracks in their own need to attach themselves to one truth. And there are multiple ways that we can rise above this, okay? And my way, listen, I am not someone who likes to get political. I am not strong in that. There are people who have incredible podcasts out there. There are people who are leading the charge in, uncovering a lot of stuff, okay? Whether it's medical, whether it's election related, whatever it might be. And those people, to me, I feel like that was their mission here on this planet. Like that's what they came in here to do. That's where they're strong. That's where they know they're in their power. That is not where I am in my power. I am in my power when I am working with energy. I have been working with energy since I can remember consciously since I was 17. That's over 25 years ago. Okay, so for 25 years, I've been working with energy. I've been manipulating it. I've been studying energy, understanding how my mind works, the belief system. I've been studying it through meditation, working with manifestation through visualization. This is where I am strongest. This is where I can help out in humanity. And that's why I do what I do. And it's important for all of us to know our role and our place here on this planet and what we're here to do. And to not denounce someone or shame someone because they're not doing it the way you need them to or you want them to. We have to start providing space that is free of judgment to allow this journey to unfold at its highest potential. And by being so restrictive on how that can happen, on what you think is the right way, it's not going to help us get there any faster. In fact, it slows us down. So let me get into the comments because this is going to be fun. All right. Okay. one of the main there's about 10 comments here I'm going to go through. No, they're not specific. I didn't write them verbatim I'm not going to do that to anyone. But I'm going to say here, one of the comments that I saw was a lot of people felt betrayed, or I don't want to say a lot of people. Some people felt betrayed and they felt like they lost a friend. The only reason why you would feel a sense of betrayal, and I say this with deep compassion because I understand it. I've been there. Okay, so I'm trying to understand where these comments are coming from so I can address them as wholly as I can. To feel a sense of betrayal means that you gave me a sense of power or authority that you needed to believe that you were right, or that you were on, let's just call it the right side of history, because that's a thing that we hear out there, whatever that might be. And for me to do that, what I think people are feeling is they're feeling that fracture within them, that if I did that, then I've betrayed them in some way. But I have never asked you to live, or expected, let's just say I've never expected any of you to not get it. I've always said, do what's right for you. If you feel that this is the right thing for you, then you get it. And if it's not, then you don't get it. This is an individual journey. I didn't betray anyone. I will say, let me just say this. I would have betrayed myself so deeply had I not gotten it, because I would have betrayed my mission. I would have betrayed my work. I would have betrayed what I know is coming in my future that I'm going to be working on. Big stuff that to me is super important. And if I hadn't got it, it wouldn't have been for me. It would have been for you who thought I was going to betray you. And I'm not going to live my life like that. I lived my life like that for a long time. Wanting to people please, wanting to make sure people liked me. Fuck that shit. I'm not doing it anymore. I was like, if I do that, it is a deeper betrayal than what a lot of people think I'm betraying them as. All right, so that's what I have to say about that comment. Okay, this one is a little bit funny. Actually, some of these are really funny. I was quite entertained, actually, from some of these comments. I am no longer me. I am forever changed because I have this thing inside me. My goodness, there are people out there that have given a substance their entire energetic sovereignty. I don't know why you think I am no longer me because I took a substance. You clearly don't think you clearly don't believe in your own power. You clearly don't understand how consciousness works. And newsflash, it's already out of me. It's not even in me anymore. So the only thing that is no longer it is the vaccine. So that's what I have to say about that. Okay, this one. Why did your guides tell you to do it? My guides did not tell me to do it. I never said that in my video. A lot of people, this is what happens when you get triggered. You start hearing certain words and you start forming words with that sentence and leaving certain words out and phrases. And I never said my guides told me to do it. This was my choice. The information that came to me after I chose to do this. Me. I was like, this is going to be my choice. I know that I am better off taking it right now than not taking it. What I was not willing to do was what would have happened had I not taken it. So my guides never told me to do that. And I honestly, if any of your guides are telling you to do something or not do something of that big of a deal, without you first discovering what you want to do, guys, the most important thing that you ever have is your free will. And the guides that are working with you will always respect that. The ones who are working for you to your highest good, they will always respect your free will. They will not tell you how to live. And I know some people who have, they do these channeled sessions or they live their life in a way, well, my guides just told me not to do this and that's it. And I'm not questioning it. And I'm like, I think you should question it because you're not happy. You keep choosing unhappy things for yourself, but you're doing it because your guides keep telling you. If you truly feel like that's the right thing to do, that's one thing. But my guides never told me to do this. What happened was when I chose for myself, I got a shit ton of downloads come through of information, and it was because I was in my energetic sovereignty. Okay, I was in my own empowerment, and I was rising above the fear, which allowed me to tap into higher truths. Because why? I was tapped into the truth, which is a very high truth of there is nothing outside of me more powerful than me. It's very basic. We all know this, but you have to believe it. All right. So I just want to clarify that one. One of the other comments, okay, this was a good one. You were fearful when you made the choice to get it. I also heard the fact that you had to transmute it just goes to say that you were scared of it. And I addressed this at the beginning of this video. Just because I know something isn't good for me doesn't mean I fear it. All right? People who were leaving these kind of comments were projecting their own fear onto me. Okay? Because they can't understand how I wasn't fearful of it. In order for me to work with the energy as highly as I did, I had to be in a place where I was not holding fear. And I'd be lying to you if I told you there weren't moments leading up to this day where I had to get it, okay, where I went to get it, that I didn't have moments of fear. I was like, oh my God. I've been, since I was 12, somewhere between 12 and 15 years old, I haven't had another vaccine since because I told my mom, I don't ever want them anymore. I don't know why I'm getting them. I'm not sick. I don't need them. I don't want them anymore. This has been my mindset for over 25 years, 30 years. So I'm having to really work with myself to be like, okay, at that point in time, you didn't have the conscious knowledge that you have now. You didn't know how to work with energy. You didn't know what you're truly capable of. You know now. So we have to switch the mentality a little bit. And I had to have conversations I literally had to be my own freaking cheerleader. But I was not fearful when I got it. I made that choice knowing that I was going to rise above it. And thankfully I did. So, and I gotta tell you, this whole experience has been so enlightening. I have learned so much through this whole process, from the jab to the video to the spike protein. There's so much that I've learned through this whole experience. I wouldn't trade it in for anything. I am thankful for it. I am learning so much. And I'll tell you, the one thing I have learned probably the most out of all of this is really how powerful I am. For me to have cleared it out of my system in 12 days, okay, except for one that I'm okay with being there right now. As soon as I say go, I'm getting rid of it. But for me to do that, really, I can't tell you how empowering that is for me. It's when you have these experiences, it really starts to shift your own mind, okay, on what you're capable of. And now I'm now I want to go, and what else can I do? And I don't mean I'm going to go and put myself in harm's way or anything like that. But when it comes to manifestation, Well, now it's like making me feel like, shoot, maybe I need to be putting more effort into this. And, where I would have more time to put effort into, so I wasn't following alternative media's toxic beliefs and videos and messages around everything that's going on, So yeah, that's one of my New Year's resolutions actually, is to really focus on my own manifestation and creation through energy work and changing my beliefs systems. Okay. How can you say you had no choice? There's always a choice. And they're absolutely correct. This is a correct statement. I think in my video, when I said I had no choice, what I really meant to say, and I didn't say it in the right way. So there absolutely was a choice. I made the choice to get it because the other choice was demonstrably worse for me. Demonstrably worse. And so to me, what I meant when I said that was, it makes you feel like you don't have a choice. And it kind of comes into this place of, well, I can't do that, so I have to do this. And that's what I meant. So the person who left this comment is right. I just didn't say it properly. Okay. You're influencing people to get it, and that's so messed up. No, I'm not. I never did that. Never once in my video. I clarified that several times in that video, and I said it again in this one. Never once did I advocate for getting it. In fact, I explicitly remember saying that I needed to clarify that I am not advocating that anyone gets it, unless that is something that you feel called to do. That is your choice, I never once did that. Again, I think that was just this is what happens when you're triggered. You misinterpret information and you turn it into something that fits the trigger emotion that you're having, and so that you can justify being emotionally charged in whatever way that you are. Okay. A few people indeed can do this, but most cannot. All right. This is actually a really important comment, because I had a conversation with a friend about this, who also sees things the way I do, but will not speak about it on their channel. And this person said the exact same thing to me. And I said to them, the only reason why people are not doing it is because there are not enough of us showing them that they can. We have to speak up. We have to share this information and empower people. To hold it back, at least from the way I see it, is a total crime. I can't in good consciousness hold it back. Knowing that I'm able to do this and not telling anyone because I'm scared I'm going to lose subscribers, or I'm scared that I'm going to lose a little bit of money in my business. I can't do that. So in a way, this person is right, but they're also not. And it's like, here, this is what I wanted to say in the Nocebo Effect here, because I didn't get to that part. Here, where is it? Okay. Our positive and negative beliefs not only impact our health, but also every aspect of our life. Henry Ford was right about the efficiency of assembly lines, and he was right about the power of the mind. If you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, you're right. And we have to remember that. We have to remember that. There are people who have consumed very toxic materials and had no effect on them. I am not endorsing that. I am not saying go and do that. But I am just saying, for the state of observation, that clearly there's a possibility here. We just need to find our own empowerment. So this is why I'm holding the event, is so that I can help teach you guys, for those of you who are interested, who need the assistance, to help teach you how to do this. And if you go into it holding fear, then you are going to have a harder time. You are. It's not like just a simple snap your fingers and it's done. There are a lot of moving components to this. You've got to be in the right state of mind. You have to. You also have to understand how energy works. You have to believe that what you're doing is working. If you don't even believe in your own self, then your chances of working with this are a lot lower. So there are a lot of things. But, I said to my friend, if we don't start helping people now, when are they ever going to get the chance to do this? They may not be ready just yet, but over time, as they practice and they do their due diligence and they practice and put this into work, they do. It's like with anything, with healing, you got to do the work. I go, I don't want to be a participant and holding that back from anyone. So that's what I have to say about that. Okay, now this one takes the cake, guys. This one takes the cake. I couldn't believe my eyes when I read some of these comments. That because I have taken it, I am a reptilian now. I am a gray. AI consciousness has hacked my consciousness. I am a cyborg now. Someone said they saw black energy in my aura, and I have killed my soul. Okay. Needless to say, these are very dramatic and very black-pilled conspiracy theory projections that I don't know. All I gotta say is, to anyone out there who holds this belief, dude, you have been going down so many rabbit holes, so many conspiracy theories. You've been black-pilled to the extent of being so black-pilled, you are now holding so much toxicity. For you to instantly, that's where your mind goes. I can't even believe this is the actual thinking process that people actually come across in their minds, that this is what's happening. I am not a cyborg. I am not a reptilian. My consciousness is very much intact. That to me, actually, that was, I had a good laugh about that with a lot of people. And in some ways, it makes me sad. I will say it makes me sad that this is where some people are going, because this is the problem with conspiracy theory rabbit holes. Listen, there are some really good conspiracy theories out there that are holding a lot of truth. But like with anything, there are ones out there that are so toxic and bad for you. And it infects your mind to the point where you have no ability to know truth from lie, truth from illusion, fact from fiction any longer, because you're so black-pilled. You haven't been putting in, if this is the kind of comments that you're putting on people's channel when you disagree with what they're saying, you are so fractured in your mind from all of the black-pilled conspiracy theory holes you've gone down. And it has infected your mind with a level of toxicity that requires a lot of healing. And the reason why I can say this is because I've gone down some of these rabbit holes. I know what exists there. It's scary as shit. And you can sometimes get pulled into this stuff and start believing it all. And honestly, you start becoming so disconnected from reality. You don't know left from right, up from down, black from white anymore. You just don't know what to trust. You don't trust anything anymore at this point, including yourself. So just pump the brakes on the conspiracy theories, and start just tuning into yourself. Okay, do your own healing. This is not helpful. I don't know. Anyways, okay, moving on. Another comment I got was something about altering your temple. Why would you alter your temple just to rise above fear? And so I think, this is kind of clear at this point that I didn't alter my temple. I altered the vaccine. So, like I said, if something has the potential to alter you, you have the potential to alter it. And I was not about to play in that game where I came out the loser. Okay. And that's just a little of my competitive humor. Some of you may find it offensive. I don't know. But I grew up very competitive playing in sports. And my dad always told me, if you're not a winner, you're a loser. And so when it came to this whole like vaccine thing, I was like, I'm totally winning here. We're playing by my rules because it's my body. You're entering my field. So we play by my rules. So I did not alter my temple. It's already gone. It's already gone, except for one. And I'm cautiously watching it. Okay. And then I just want to say, to finish this all off, because look, we're already at an hour and a half. One of the biggest observations that I had from the comments of that video, the reaction of people to that video, is that people are so attached to the darkness of this thing, that they're refusing to see any light. And if you're in that state of mind and that state of being with that, which is so emotionally charged, it's becoming such a hot button topic that, you know, like it starts to consume you. How do you expect to find, listen, if you want to live in a world where we start to transmute the darkness into the light, you've got to be willing to see that darkness go into the light. If you're not willing to see that, I don't know how you're part of the solution. You're just part of the perpetual problem. You've got to be willing to see that. There's always a dark and a light expression within everything here. And so for me, what I have been called to without really even knowing that I was getting called to this, it hasn't really dawned on me until I've been going through this process. There was just a knowing within me. I was like, for some reason, I feel like this is part of my path. I don't understand why. I don't particularly like it, but for some reason, this is part of my path. And I now can see that it is about understanding that in order for us to have the darkness work with us, we need to be willing to work with it, which means raising the consciousness, being willing to, you know, rise above the fear and face it with love and compassion. And that's what I'm having to do with this spike protein that has chosen to, you know, alter its frequency and adapt to my fields in order to survive. And if we're not willing to see someone heal from their own darkness, what does that say about us? There are a lot of people who have perhaps committed atrocities in their life, perhaps have gone to prison for it, and through their own spiritual awakening to their own truth, their own healing that they've done, they've transformed and changed themselves and become a much better person. We have to hold space for that potential in all darkness. We have to. It doesn't mean we blindly trust things, but we have to hold the space for that potential. If we truly want to be the alchemizers of this planet, if we truly want to help raise the frequency, sometimes you have to go into some really dark places and shine your light. So that is pretty much it, I think. I think I've covered it all. How's everyone doing? How is everyone doing? Hot topic sucks. Even a seed begins its journey in the dark. Exactly. And I want to say the message that I was given from my guides is that the seeds needed to be planted, that was part of my mission, and that's all I needed to do, and that they're already taking form in their own ways, let them be watered or let them be forgotten about, but it's like, When we think about going through our own awakening and then talking to someone who we perceive as not awakened and having conversations with them, when we try to seed their consciousness with, little seeds of wisdom that we may picked up or little truths or whatever, a lot of the times people are very resistant to that. They don't want to hear it. Well, this is exactly the same case in what was happening here. I planting a seed here of, in my opinion, higher consciousness, okay, that holds a lot of light and empowerment, that was very disruptive to minds that just weren't ready to hear it yet. And that is how it works. And so perhaps what I think could be a learning lesson for any of you who were really triggered, don't agree with it, or whatever that might be, is to understand the compassion that you have to hold for those who maybe you're trying to wake up, okay? Or you're trying to assist in their own awakening. Because really, you can't force it on anyone. You have to allow someone to go at their own pace. But we always have to hold compassion for that. So yeah. So that's it, guys. So again, if you want to join my event on January 15th, it's a Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern. The link is in the description below. I will be sending out an email to everyone who's purchased a ticket 24 hours before the event to give you the Zoom link to come in. And then I will be uploading that to my Alchemy Academy, okay, my academy where all my courses are. And you will be given an access code to access the recording for free, obviously, because you've already paid to be there live. But I want it there so that people who aren't able to make the live or find the information later on, that they can still access that and watch it and learn from it. So you will have access to that at all time to kind of just refresh your memory, or maybe like you needed to hear something again, or you forgot something, it'll be there. Okay. Toxic 2121, jab or no jab, everyone has the ability to be healthy, feel it, and it is so. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Keystone, I think, is in the channel. I just saw someone mention her. I'm going to be going on her channel on Monday. I believe it'll be at around 7 p.m. Eastern is her usual time. And we're going to be talking about this. She wants to interview me on this. So I will be there. So I'll be sharing more. But I wanted to first put out the information here on my channel and give you the full rundown. So I hope this is helpful. Monoblock, you signed up. I'm so glad. Glad to see you there. Love your energy. Alfredo, count me in for the event. Awesome. Let me just see here. Oh, wait 1 second. The chat's moving really fast. It says that they have a one dat sun lover. It says that they have an if I can't have it, you can't either mentality, instead of an if you can do it, maybe I can do it mentality. Yeah, and here's the thing. Just honor your path. That's all I want for anyone. Just honor your own individual path. Make the choices that are best for you. Okay? And when you hold space for others, you're helping to create that frequency that allows for the individual journey to proceed uninhibited. Okay? By whatever may be, shame, judgment, censorship, whatever it might be. Suiterbug, if you're not the first, you're the last. Herky Bobby. Yeah, pretty much. School of Multidimensional Intuition. Oh, hey, Matt. Definitely good to feel you. It's good to see you. Yeah, it's good to see you too. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so I love you guys so much. Okay, so just really quickly, I know some of you have asked me to do a 2022 all signs reading, like just kind of like a projection into the year. And I did a reading today with one of you, and the way we structured it was so fun. I had so much fun doing that reading with you. You know who you are. And I've decided that I will do a 2022 kind of all signs reading for just kind of like the energies of the year for you. And it's going to be different from how I do it usually. It's not going to be about past, present, future. It's going to be more about your challenges, what's trying to energetically take form for you, and what the advice will be for you. So I'll probably release that soon. So just keep a lookout for that. And guys, I love you so much. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you, even if you don't necessarily support the concept, but you just support me being my authentic self and sharing my truth and still sticking around. I think that says a lot about you and how much you have come, how far along your own journey you have come. Not a lot of people can do that, and I appreciate you and embrace you. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you. I love you, and I will hopefully see you guys next Monday on the Keystones channel. And of course, the podcast, where we're going to talk about human trafficking, how we can all work together to end that, what we need to do. I'm going to fill you in on some projects I've gotten involved in. I'm so excited. 2022 is already looking so prosperous, and I am seeing a lot of light. Okay, let me finish on this note. For you guys, okay? This is a conversation I had with one of my clients today. 2020 and 2021 were very much like, we're birthing into a completely new reality. And whenever there's a birthing process, the birthing process is so freaking scary, right? Like, you're in your mother's womb, it's warm, it's safe, everything is provided for you, you don't have to go anywhere, everything is just handed to you, and it's just super comforting, right? And then all of a sudden, the transition happens, and the birth has to happen, and you're going into a whole new reality. And you need to go through this very dark canal that is very difficult to get through. And you have it's scary. It's straight up scary. And I feel like 2020 and 2021 have been us moving through that birth canal very, very slowly into a new reality that a lot of us have been doing the work to create. We just didn't expect that this was how it was all going to go down, right? Now, what I see as 2022 is it's still going to be challenging for a lot of us, but I see 2022 as breaks of light coming into that tunnel, that birth canal tunnel that we're all kind of going through. I'm starting to see the light. I'm not saying the light is flooding in, but the light is there. And I think for those of us who can focus on the mission of what it takes to get to that reality, there may be some grunt work, there may be some pushing, there may be a lot of breath work that has to happen. A lot of trust that everything's going to be okay when you get to that other side. We just got to lean into it. We got to do the work. We have to focus on our own individual journeys. We've got to focus on our own healing. We've got to focus on where the fractures are within us. And we've got to heal this sickness of division that has permeated all of our consciousness and fractured so many relationships. And this created this inability for people to come together and work together. I mean, we all know that's what is wanted for this darker, let's just call it darker agenda, for lack of a better word, to continue forward. So we need to get over ourselves. We need to get over this need to be right, or this need to be, the need for everyone else to do things the way we think they should do them. Just come together. And when we can do that, we will rise above this, we will shift this timeline, and we will move through the birth canal with a little bit more ease and a little bit more speed, because no one wants to get stuck. No one wants to get stuck. So let's not get stuck, because I feel like this division is slowing things down and it's forcing us to get stuck. All right. So I love you guys. I'm excited to come back with you with more information next week. And who knows, if I'm feeling it, I might do that 2022 reading for you over this weekend. All right. I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Remember how powerful you are. Don't let anything or anyone tell you differently. Start focusing on your energetic sovereignty. Know that whatever you choose is best for you. You are the leader of your own life. You are the one who has to walk in your shoes. You are the one who has to experience everything from your perspective. So just choose how you want to experience it. And that is all you can ever ask of anyone. All right. Love you guys so much. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll be back with you guys soon.